of these filled mark sheets, and then we are demonstrating the data extraction, validation, and then the subsequent verification of the data from these mark sheets. Okay. So before I go into it, if I just show the just 1 second, I will just show the mark sheets what I've got. So what as per our understanding, so this is like, it's a form where the examiners, they fill in the marks, what the individual what a student has scored on their actual on the examination, and then they fill in these marks, and then they fill in the marks in words and in numbers, and then each of these sheets will have a unique barcode which sort of acts as a unique identifier for these sheets. Okay. So what we did was we printed a few of these, and we filled it manually in a few different formats. So if I show you, like, we have also taken into account, like somebody writing a half like this, or like a .5, and then like different variations of numbers, like writing a 2 like this, or with this curly thing, etc. So we have taken a few variations of how different people would fill in these forms. Okay. So in an actual scenario, what would happen is these sheets would be filled, and they would be piled up, and a set or a batch of these would be created, and we would put these through a high-speed scanner or a flatbed scanner, depending upon what equipment we have. So if I log into my workspace. So what I will do is I will just show the end-to-end process, and then later on I can talk a bit about the platform, like, and then but please feel free to sort of interrupt me and ask any questions as we go along. So you don't have to wait for the end to ask any questions. So if I'm a scanning operator, I will get this menu item here called scan. We can make it more descriptive, like scan mark sheets, or if like there are different processes we are looking at, then it could be like, is scan application forms or scan mark sheets, or we can do it that way. So when I go to the scan view in the application, in a production scenario, we will have a scanner attached to it. So like this application supports all common sets of scanners which support a Twine or ISIS drivers, which is quite a well-known standard. So if I had a scanner attached with this machine, then I would see the scanner here, and then it would ingest the documents from the scanner. In this scenario, I don't have a scanner attached, so I'm just using a software import. So I have pre-scanned these filled forms, and then I've got these TIFF files here, which I just showed, and then I will just sort of import these TIFF files into the application, simulating how a scanner works. So I've got 2 sets of these documents. So okay. And as you can see, so the application, it shows me the ingested image on the right. The user can use these navigation buttons. It can use this bar here to sort of go to the next image, or it could use the buttons up here to look at the next document. This is just for the operator to sort of verify that the scanned image is scanned correctly. If, say, for example, a paper gets sort of gets folded, or there's some issue with the scanning with the image, then they can just go and say, let's reject it, or delete that document, or reject it, and then they can just scan that particular document again. Simple things like, if the image is scanned upside down, those sort of things are handled automatically. The system has got artificial intelligence that it would look at the pattern of the text and rotate it to the right orientation. So those sort of things are taken care automatically. Simple things like automatic image cleanup, some despeckling. Despeckling, as if like if you have some some noise on the image, like some dots or something, it can get rid of that automatically. And things it can also do automatic color correction and image background smoothing, etc. So it just like there's a lot of intelligence built in the system to sort of clean the image up front at the time of scanning. Okay. So now I've got these, what I'm seeing in the meta panel, where it says folder or a batch. So this is like some batch level fields which you can provide when you're scanning. Just comparing it to how physically these scanned, these paper images, paper documents would be handled as you would have like 50, 100 in a pile all grouped together, and then they would go into some sort of a box somewhere into archive storage. So what we sort of suggest to our customers is when they're using the system, put some sort of identifier at the when you are scanning it. So later on down the line, if you wanted to pull out the physical paper, the system tells you where that actual physical paper is. So you look at the image, against the image, it would show you a box ID or an image ID. And then using that, you can go and locate like box where the actual physical paper is. So, sorry, Raj, are you calling me? Hello?
Yeah.
Did you call me just now? Or
Yes, because there was networking issue.
Okay, can you hear me now? Or
Yeah, now we can hear you. You please continue.
do you want me to repeat anything? Anything missed?
Yes, the last bit of your description.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but please do the same. If there's a network, if you can't hear me, just call me again. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So the last bit I was saying, the around the paper handling of how physical paper would be for these mark sheets. It is stored and archived, and sort of you can put some identifier with the actual batch, which helps you locate the actual physical paper. Now that all depends upon what your physical process will be for handling these paper sheets after they are scanned. And so whatever that process would be, that would be mirrored into the system with the objective that 3 months down the line, somebody looks at an image here and says, oh no, I don't trust that this was scanned correctly, or there's some issue with it. I want to look at the actual physical paper. Then in that case, the system will tell you the physical paper of this sheet is stored here in this room, in this box at this location. So that's all I was trying to say. So I've not configured many fields here, but this can be configured as required. So I'll just put box ID 101. And once as an operator, I'm happy that I've scanned all the images in that batch, then I can just go and say create a job. And now this batch of images has been submitted to the system for it will classify the document, it will extract the data, it will apply all the validation rules, and then show it to a validation operator if there are any issues. So what I will do is I will go and I will scan another. I will just create another one. So I've just created another batch of 2. Okay. Now, as you see, so in this, so I've just, whilst this system is processing now, I'll just talk a bit about this workspace. So as you can see on the left, we see the queues. So the system works uses the concept of queues. So when you scan a document or you create a work item or you create a batch, it is routed through a workflow which is sitting behind the scenes, and in the workflow in steps where it requires any input from a user, that's where it would it puts that item into a queue, and then the user logs into the queue and they can go and work on that. So in this case, like I've got these three batches sitting here. If I open one of these. Sorry, I opened the wrong queue. Sorry. I have to go in the OCR data errors. Okay. Yeah. So the way it works is, first, after scanning and the document is classified and extracted, it goes into a queue which is called OCR data errors. So this is a step where an operator would sort of look at any OCR issues or data issues with this with the extraction. So the issue could be something was not extracted correctly, or something the system could not read something, or the totals are not matching, or anything. It could be any type of an error. But the focus on the error is to make sure what is extracted is what's there on the image. So as you can see, like these are the two batches that I just sort of processed. So if I click on one, okay. Just to talk a bit about this screen, so you can see on the left, I've got my navigation bar, which shows the different, like it's scanned 7 documents. For this step in the POC, I'm keeping all the all the mark sheets that were scanned together. I'm keeping them together. It makes sense. Say for example, if an operator has to go and verify something from the physical mark sheet, because they are all stored together, it's easy if at this step they are all stored together. Now after this validation, then they go into a single document processing mode. But again, that all is configurable based upon what suits your existing business process or the business process that you are envisioning. Okay. Is it okay so far? Am I going too fast, slow? Any network issues?
No,
Sorry?
it is perfectly fine. No issue at all.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. So as you can see on the left, it shows me the 7 mark sheets that I've scanned, but you will notice that it has automatically thrown me on the second mark sheet and it has skipped the first one. And if you notice, there's a small red exclamation mark against some of these. So what's maybe, I'm not sure if you can see that, but like there's a red exclamation mark against some of these documents. Wonder if I can. I'm not really sure how clearly you are seeing my screen. So if I just make it a bit bigger here, you can see that there's a red exclamation mark. So if I go to the first document here, what the system is saying, none of the fields are marked in red, or there's no error message on this document. As you can see, the current error panel is blank. This means that the system is absolutely happy with what it has extracted. Now, when I say the system is happy, that means all data was extracted confidently. It was the confidence was above the threshold that we had set. All the business validation rules are working correctly, and there is no data discrepancy or data mismatch. So when I say the business rules, so here I have created some business rules like each of these numbers, this should be only between 0 and 4. And the total of each row should match and then the vertical total of all these totals should match to the grand total, and then this grand total should match with the words here. So these are all the business validation rules that we have configured. We can configure as many validation rules as you want. So that's what the system does. Like if you compare it to any other traditional OCR tool, you will come across lots of products which do OCR. When they say OCR, they will just extract the data and give it to you, but they would not apply the intelligence and the validation rules on top of the extracted data to give you validated data. So that's one of the strengths that we are showcasing here. Now, if you see now, if I click on any of these text boxes, you can see that it creates a green zone on where it has extracted it. So if I tap, then you can see it's sort of moving the image. Now that really helps to the operator, like it sort of gives them a visual clue of where this particular field value is extracted from, and it speeds up any validation or manual correction. So this document, as per the system, was absolutely correct. So the system just skipped it, and it prompted the operator to go on to the second document. Now, sorry, I have to hide this panel every time because there's a limitation on how much I can put on my screen horizontally. But in a proper production environment, what you can do is you can give your operators dual screens, and if I can undock this image and I can throw it on a different screen, and then that way, you can make the best out of the screen space. So even when this is undocked, you can see it stays in sync. When I click on a field value, it draws a zone around it. So I was just saying, like, you might notice that I'm struggling a bit with the user interface because there's so much information to show on one screen, but that does not happen in a production environment, because if there's more information on the space, then let's give users to a dual screen system. So I'll just close that, go here. Okay. Now in this one, as you can see, the system has highlighted 5 of these fields as incorrect. So or what it's saying is like incorrect in the sense that the system's a bit not particularly confident. So what it's saying is like incorrect grand total. So the expected value is 56. So if the system has extracted it, what it's seeing on here, but then what it has done, it has added 10, 16, 10, and 20. So that's 20, 30, 40, 50, and 56. Now what's happened here, the person who was filling this sheet, they have done a mistake that they have not entered the marks correctly. So the operator would go and if they go and now this again would depend upon your business process. We have assumed that in this case, the marks for the individual questions will take precedence. We say that all these marks are correct, and we will correct the totals if there are any mathematical problems, mathematical addition problems in the totals. So what I would go here is I write 56 here. And when I press return, the system runs all the validation rules again. And now it's saying that, incorrect word total in words, I'm expecting 56 and it was 55 and the system has corrected it automatically, as you can see. So it has just updated that to 56. Then it says, I'm a bit uncertain on this number 16. So if you see here, somebody has done some overwriting. Now you might say, we can reverse the order in which these rules are running. Like ideally it should have shown this one first, but again, that's configurable. So here what has happened is, maybe somebody has written a 5 and then changed it to 6 because they realized that error later. All that now this 16 is correct for all the numbers in that row, but they forgot to change the total. So that's what had actually happened. So what you would do is you just press return on that, and then it jumps onto the next image. Okay. Now, if I look on my my navigation panel, again, it has skipped sheet 3 because this was my sheet 3 where everything was correct and the system was happy. If I go on 4, so here, okay, what the system is saying is that row 1 total is incorrect, expected row total is 16. You can go and quickly, so the operator will say, okay, all of these numbers, they are extracted correctly. There's nothing wrong with them. So, okay, I trust the system that the total should be 16. They change that. And now suddenly the system says, hang on, this total, it was not giving an error on this before, but now it is saying, no, that I'm expecting 67. And then, and then, it does the same, updates the total in words, and then you press return and it jumps onto the next one. Okay. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is how an operator would do validation for any OCR data errors or any issues with the sheets, with these mark sheets. Okay. Now on this one, now so in this particular one, the system has, it's not, what it's saying is, that I'm a bit uncertain about this particular number, like this 2. I think the system says, I think it is 2.5, but I'm not 100% sure. So you just sort of confirm it, go to the next one, and then confirm. So what has happened here was, it's the confidence thresholds, the way we have set it. So for every OCR extraction, the system assigns it a confidence value between 1 and 100. And then I have set that to, I think, 85. So that's quite high, So if I lower the confidence thresholds, then it would not say that this field was not certain. Typically, that threshold adjustment is system fine-tuning that we do after a short while that the system has run. What we do is we capture all this data in the background and we say what the system extracted, what was the confidence, and did the user change that? And then we use a combination of these 3 values across thousands of fields and then sort of work out and adjust the confidence threshold. So we start a bit higher and then we bring it down. Now if you see, if I go, so that's the last one, and if I go on that, that's fine. And I've done all this, so I'll just come out of this. I can go to my next one. So this is the other 2 that I had done, and it's a similar thing here. As you can say, it's saying that the row total should be 13. I just confirm that. Then it says this should be 33. So it's complaining. Oh, sorry, I should have this panel open here. Yeah, okay. So it's saying, again, I'll just try to do this quickly, you know, like how a trained operator would do. Okay. So that was, so both of them I've done it, and then I'll just go and I'll complete the activity. And then now what's happening is the system is in the background. It is going through, it is comparing or matching the extracted data on the mark sheet versus what the data is stored in the database. So for the purposes of this demo, what I've done is, as you can see here, yeah, so as you can see, you know, there's this barcode value and all of these marks. I've created a small database table. So I've created a database table where I've stored the barcode value and the marks against each one of these questions. So this is like my master data. And then whenever a form is scanned or it's processed, it reads the barcode from that form and it matches the marks with what's stored in the database table. And if there's a discrepancy, it will prompt it to the user. If there's no discrepancy, then that's fine. In my demo, the user never sees that form again. But you know, in your but that's what the hypothetical process we have assumed. Okay. So, hello, any questions?
Yeah. So you know, as per the process which.
Hello. Hello.
The image and the data which he has extracted. That is one first level of verification. Now the second level of verification is, you know, to check the extracted data, image data, and the data which that end user has entered in the application at the first stage. So, Trivendra, can you showcase that particular screen where all three screens are in one?
Yeah. So what happens is, once the OCR data issues have been handled, and then the system does this data cross-checking in the background, and all the discrepancies, then they go to another queue called OCR Data Errors. Now I am the way I configure it, I'm only one person, and I've got access to both the queues. But what would happen in a scenario is this would be done by different people. So when the cross-validation operator logs in, they only see the cross-validation queue. They don't see the OCR data queue. So in this case, now if I see, this is so out of all the documents that I had just processed, it is complaining on two of them. As you can see from the timestamp, you know, like it's 12:32 at my place. Yeah. So it sort of created two records, two items in the queue. If I click on the first one, so what it is saying is that I'm not happy with the row 4 total and the grand total. So if you look at the top is what the system has extracted from the mark sheet. It's a very similar screen to what we had before, and now below is what it has extracted from the database based upon this barcode value. So that's the barcode what it read from here. Now it is saying that row 4 total. So row 4 total is 12, whereas on the mark sheet it says 10. Yeah, and then that has affected the grand total. So the grand total is 65, whereas this is 63. So what has happened is the marks in the backend database were correctly entered for all the questions, but the total of the last row was put as 12 instead of 10. Okay, and likewise, like if any of these questions were incorrectly entered as well, then it will complain on that as well. So that's what it's saying. And so at this stage, you know, now I'm not really sure what the exact action point for the cross-validation operator is from there on, but it could be something, either they go and create another record into some other system, or we could produce a report, you know, of all discrepancies, a PDF report, you know, maybe Rajiv and Junaid, they know more about that process. Maybe they can talk.
So so Trivendra, I'll just cover up because I think this is becoming a little. Let me just clarify to Savyaktar also. So this on this screen, the left side is the scanned image, and on the right side, the upper portion is the data which is extracted from this image. And the below matrix, which is verification mismatch report, that is the data which has been entered by evaluators in your system separately. Yes. So it is actually verifying and then showing that what is the mismatches that are coming up. But what I have told Trivendra also, that once this mismatch is highlighted, then it is up to the CBSE to decide whether they have to make changes manually in the data that had been entered by evaluators, or do we need to update it from the extracted data. So that part we still haven't covered up, because I think that is the decision that will be from your side.
Yeah. And I'm sure there must be some process for, ending these records. Yeah. So there would be a separate group. Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, we'll only show the mismatch, and this mismatch will be kind of a report and accessible on this user interface, and then the users can correct it based on the protocols that have been set by CBSE.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Trivendra, please continue. I think that's.
And in this particular survey, the barcode is the unique identifier. It will give the subject, it will give the low number, every information will be in the barcode. Yeah. Yeah, Trivendra, please continue. Hello.
Oh, sorry.
Trivendra, we are not.
Sorry. I muted myself so that there's no background noise. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, please.
So what I've done is I've closed that record, and it has automatically just opened the next one. And here it is complaining that question 4 there's a mismatch there. You can see it's 2.5 here and it's 3.5 here. And it is complaining on row 1 total. This is 21. It says 22 here. And row 2 total as well, 12, 11 and 12. And then it's impacted the grand total as well. So effectively what has happened is somebody has entered some question, some marks incorrectly. And then, yes, the same, as Junaid was saying, there would be some downstream process from here. For the production system, I know like there are some improvements that could be made to it. It would be good if maybe these numbers here are highlighted in red, so it's easy for the eye to sort of detect, to sort of work out what are the discrepancies. Yeah.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, so I will just complete this, and as you can see, it then disappears from my queue. Yeah, so now to talk a little bit about this interface. It's called a workspace in the terminology used by this intelligent automation platform. You can see, as I said, queues on the left, items on the right. You can create more queues. You can put your own logo here. All of this, the color and the style sheets and the themes, they can be branded so that the look and feel is more aligned to your corporate look and feel and colors, etc. And that sort of helps people also, see, oh, this is like a customized or a bespoke system for us, because it looks like our other system. So just those little things, if required, we can do. Yeah, and without going too much into any technical things, just one thing I can show is, like this is a workflow that is running behind. So as it says, it goes to the classification step first. Zoom in a bit, yeah. Goes to classification, extraction. So classification step, I didn't talk about this before. What the system does is it verifies that every document you have given me, it is a mark sheet. Like if you scan a letter in that batch, then the system will throw it out first, saying, now hang on, this document is not what I was expecting. and then it does data extraction. Then this is a manual step. Then it goes to the next one. Then it creates. Then here it verifies, like document found and the totals are correct with the database, with the data in the database. And if it's not, then it selectively creates a verification, validation job. What I was showing.
And wherever there is a manual intervention that is based on some logic, that if tool has already identified some errors, only those questions or those mark sheet needs some manual effort. Okay. Otherwise, everything will be done by the robotic system. Yes.
Yes. So I'll just add to this. So, for example, there are different subjects. For example, like accounts is one of the subjects. Now, science, physics, chemistry is another subject. They have different set of questions. For example, section A would have 1 to 20, where maximum marks awarded are only 1. Then there is 21 to 27, where 2 marks are there. Now, the similar model may differ from question paper to question paper, right? Right. And the other thing is, some papers are out of 70 marks, some papers are out of 80 marks. Now, these validations specific to each type of paper would be classified and be a separate validation process. So there is no manual intervention. From the barcode itself, we'll have to introduce one more concept as to, from barcode it can identify as to which class, which paper it is. So the moment it recognizes which class and which paper, automatically the validations related to that paper would come into effect.
So basically, if suppose say 10 subjects, automatically based on the subject, we will configure the solution in this, system. And as and when, the bundle will come, if suppose that bundle is related with say history paper or mathematics paper or English paper, automatically the related, logic or the related script will run in the background.
Now, I apologize. One thing I forgot to mention in here was, like this, I've gone back to the OCR data errors where the operator are correcting the numbers. Like, if you enter something like, the system sort of tells you, that mark should be between 0 and 4.5. So that's the business rule what we have configured for this particular barcode value, as Junaid sir was saying. So if I put, say, if I put something else, it says, string's not a valid number. So it would only accept what is a valid number. And likewise, like if in totals, if I try to put 100, it says, like it's like it will not accept it because it's we have confirmed, that what we have done is like the number should only be up to 25 per row. So those sort of validation checks are in there. But then all those can be extended, expanded, and dynamically executed based upon your requirements. Okay.
So, I would really appreciate if you can also indicate like the volume. Say, is there any limitation or any kind of a challenge related with the volume? If suppose our team push thousands of data in one go.
Now, so see, like as such, there are no limitations in the system, and the system it can be scaled in a like horizontally and vertically as well. So when I mean vertical scaling is you put more processing power, more memory, more CPU, more hard disk storage space to your platform. And horizontal scaling is like you can create multiple servers running the same services. So the system uses a service-oriented architecture in the back end. So there will be a service for OCR, and there would be a service for data validation, data error checking. Then there's a web server which acts as the content delivery network. So you could have multiple nodes for each one of them. So you could have 6 servers running all your extraction services in parallel to sort of avoid any bottleneck. So it's very scalable. I have witnessed systems or like implemented systems, processing up to like 10, 15 million documents a year. So, that's like in excess of 1 million, 1.5 million a month. But yeah, so it's very scalable, and I have delivered systems which are sort of processing volumes like this. So when I say 15 million would be 1.5 crore. Is that right? So 1 million is 10 lakh. Yeah. 1.5 crore documents. Yeah, documents per annum. Yeah.
You have any query? No, no queries.